First of all, happy early birthday.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, tomorrow, right?
Yep, tomorrow.
Yeah. 27?
27 now, I'm going to be 28.
28.
Yeah, I'm going to be 28.
Yeah.
This is going to be the first birthday in a minute that I spent without my brother, so I have a twin.
Yeah.
And, we usually spend it together, but he's back home still. He coaches at USC, so he couldn't get out here.
He coaches?
Yeah, he coaches football.
Okay. I saw pictures on the IG of the graduation. Was that back in the day? Or?
No, that was actually more recent. He got his master's. So he graduated in 2012, but he recently got his master's though from USC.
Okay.
So he graduated from Old Dominion in Virginia, got his master's at USC. Yeah.
That's dope. So, like I was saying, the first time I heard the soul, maybe 6 weeks ago, I was blown away. You know, you sounded like such a veteran, and I went back, started checking out the free album. It's such a cohesive, comprehensive body of work, and that was 2 years ago. So, for a lot of people, they don't know where you came from. You know, it seems like you just came out of nowhere. So, can you talk about how long you've been doing this and what your grind has been so far?
Yeah. So I've been doing music for over 4 years. I started doing music when I was in school. I was away in Iowa playing basketball. I was on a basketball scholarship, and I just got a MacBook. And my favorite rapper of all time is Wayne, who just dropped. I want to say it was Dedication 5. So I was messing around on GarageBand, like freestyling over beats and stuff like that, just because I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. And I was sending it to some of my friends, and they were like, "Yo, like for a dude that doesn't rap, like you're kind of tight." You know what I mean? And so I started messing around with it a little bit just to kind of like get things off my chest. I was going through a lot back home, but I couldn't be back there because of school. So just to be able to talk about things and get things off my chest, and I just slowly fell in love with it. So when I got back from school, I had a contract offer to go play in Greece. I turned that down, and I just started doing music like full time and just going really, really hard with it, dumping money into it. Whatever I had to do to try to get a little bit more exposure, I was just doing it.
Yeah. You talk about Wayne, you know, on your song, you say you playing a song and it sounds like Jay is listening, Cole is mixing, and M is engineering. Who are some of your other influences besides you know, Wayne and besides the TDE?
Well, definitely Cole. Cole has probably been like my biggest inspiration when it comes to newer age music. It's definitely Cole. Wayne is in my like GOAT list. Eminem is in my GOAT list. A lot of people don't know this, but Fabulous is like heavy in my GOAT list. Like I think Fab is honestly the most underrated rapper of all time. I don't even think it's close. I think Fabulous is. And then Lupe, to me, I have, as far as like what you can do with words, I have Lupe top 2 lyricists of all time. So I like a lot of people that do different things with words, or their metaphors, or bending words to sound like other things and stuff like that type of stuff is what I'm into. So all these people kind of inspire me in different ways.
So what is it about Fab that appeals to you so much?
Just like, I'm a punchline guy, and Fab just like the way he punches so effortlessly, like he does, because punchlines is like a thin line. You can be corny, or it can just not work and you can sound like you're trying too hard. And Fab kind of rides that thin line very well of like not over punching, but knowing exactly when to say the punchline, knowing how to say it without saying the word like all the time. Like a lot of people when they punch, they say, "Oh, I'm hot like fire," or something like that. He knows how to do that, you know what I mean, without being so repetitive.
So what is it about soulful music that brings out the best in you?
I love church music. Like I love, I didn't grow, I won't say I grew up in a church, but I was in a church enough. And I love, like, the piano is my favorite instrument. I love, like, the organ, the bass, like, all of these things. I feel like church musicians are, like, some of the best musicians on the planet. You take a production group like 1500 or Nothing. Most of those musicians that I personally know, like My God Mars and some of the other ones, they play in church. Like, and it's crazy. Like, it's ridiculous. And so it wasn't something that I did on purpose. It wasn't like a thing I wanted to run with. It was just all of my music started sounding soulful. Like I was just picking soulful beats. I feel like I was speaking to people's soul a lot, you know what I mean, in the records. So it wasn't like this is something new that I picked up when I started doing it with TDE. I've been saying soul, you know what I mean, soul or soulful way back when I first started rapping. And it's just something that like I really have a liking to. Yeah.
How did you put that mixtape together? Because it sounds like a full-blown like studio album.
I actually did all of that off of YouTube, just like combing through the internet, like J. Cole type beats, Kendrick Lamar type beats. It's funny, Better Days, which is also on that tape. Better Days, the instrumental on YouTube was called Better Days. That's why I named it Better Days.
Wow.
But just combing through the internet and trying to find things. I also had a homie, his name is DJ Swish. He's actually pretty heavy in the industry now. He worked on a couple of YG's projects. He was just on Post Malone's project. But me and Swish started off in the garage together. Well, Swish was doing music before me, but when I first started, that was the first producer I linked up with. But even on that project, I don't think Swish has the beat on that project. It's just all different producers on the internet. And I just tried to see which songs and which beats flowed well into, the next one. And then if they didn't, then I tried to put a skit or something like that to kind of just try to piece it together. But I feel like the Free album is more of like who Rob is, like, and what Rob went through his entire life. And then after that, I kind of started stepping into like what Reason goes through or whatever. And so that's what a lot of people will hear on There You Have It. There You Have It, it's a new project coming out. And There You Have It is a lot darker than the Free album, and more about what Reason goes through instead of just Rob, and that change in my life of doing music instead of just doing everything I was doing before.
So pretty much self-contained. Did you have a team at all beforehand, or like were you just running?
Nah, it was just me, my cousin Lanisha. She played as my manager, but she wasn't really. She was just the person that could say no if I didn't want to say no. So it was me, my cousin Lanisha, and my brother to begin with. It was just us three. But as far as making the music, it was just me. And then I linked up with this engineer, Keitel, and he still engineers my stuff now. He works out of his spot, Low Key Studios. And once I got with him, my music just started, because of the engineering and how it sounded, it just went somewhere else. So as far as on making the music, it was just me and Keitel and YouTube. And that was it. Yeah.
So what did you say the new project is called again?
There You Have It.
There You Have It.
There You Have It.
And you said in the show that it's ready, just Todd needs to push the button.
Needs to push the button, yeah.
So can you talk about the process of making that, what that was like, and the TDE infrastructure?
Yeah. So There You Have It is actually a re-release. So I dropped There You Have It after the Free album in 2017, so last year. And that was what Top discovered me off of. So when we first sat down with Top, we were playing records from There You Have It, and then we started playing new records that I had already made after There You Have It. And so Top lived with There You Have It for maybe about a week, and that's what he decided to sign me off of. So the plan was to put out a new project under TDE, but instead Top felt like he wanted to show the world why they signed me. So we went back in, remixed, remastered There You Have It, and kind of added a couple things, but not much. Top wanted to keep it very, very raw. So we actually cut like 3 records. So I'm trying to convince Top to like allow us to, because I still have physical copies of the old one, trying to get him to allow us to sell those physical copies as like a collector edition. And if we can do that, then sell it as a collector's edition, then people will be able to get those songs that we cut off of it or whatever. But yeah, There You Have It. It's a lot darker. Swish does have a couple beats on there. Other than that, those beats are YouTube as well. And I just wanted, for There You Have It, I wanted to make it a story that people can relate to, but also tell my story in a way. So the songs are structured where when I dive into these stories, they get specific, but not too specific to where you feel like I can't relate to that. It's specific enough to where you know it's about me, but also enough to where you can say, oh, I went through something like that, or I did something like that. So I didn't get so specific to where I'm like dropping names or talking about, things like that, just because I wanted people to be able to relate and feel where I'm coming from.
So I know you grew up kind of watching Ab Soul and his grind on the come up. But you also were very purposeful about not trying to lean on that. In your music, you talk a lot about like people with cosigns and how you really want to get on for yourself. So how did you end up getting to Top? Was it through an Ab, or like how did that happen?
No, actually. I had a friend. His name Tyrone. I've known Tyrone my whole life, and his uncle is a guy named King that did road management for ScHoolboy Q. So when I first started rapping, Tyrone was really, really heavily pushing my music to King, but I wasn't very good at that point. I just had bars, but I didn't know how to make music. And so King wasn't interested at the time, but he just always kept an ear out. And so you fast forward, and we had the There You Have It release party. And at this point, it was like the height of my career. Like Baller Alert had posted me, Brandon Jennings had posted me. I was starting to get like higher level recognition. You know what I mean? Right before the tape drop, because I was doing this series called Reason Fridays, where every Friday I was just rapping over a random beat and putting it on Instagram. And one of them went viral. So we had a lot of people out, needless to say, at the release party. It was like maybe 500 people. And Keem showed up. And he showed up, he sent a video to Top and was just like, yo, you might want to check this dude out. Top still didn't really bite, so then we threw a headlining, There You Have It show where I headlined and I had a couple local openers open up for me and packed it out. It was probably like 600 people, which for me was crazy. You know what I mean? Like I never seen anything like that. And did really well. King bought 20 tickets to that show and brought people from TDE, and one of the people he brought was his best friend Musa, who's Top's oldest son. And so Musa reached out after that, and he was like, you know, I love There You Have It, but I want to hear what else you have. You know what I mean? Like, what else you have? So at first, I thought Musa was a random dude. I didn't know who he was, so I actually kind of like played Musa to the side a little bit. I was just like, yo, I'm not going to schedule a studio session, but if you want to pull up, then you can, but like I'm not about to do this whole thing because labels have you just running around in circles. I'm about to get fired from my job and stuff trying to make label meetings, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm not doing that no more. Like if you want to pull up, you can pull up. If not, then you know, cool, it's all love. It is what it is. I thank God Musa didn't take that offensively, you know what I mean? He said he was gonna pull up on the session. He didn't pull up. Musa's like late to everything, and then he hit me like maybe the last hour of the session. He was like, yo, are you still there? He's like, yeah, but I'm about to dip. And he was like, just come here and send me an address. And I didn't know it was real until, like you said, I grew up in LA, so I watched TDE grow or whatever from the bottom. And they used to have these videos of the studio in Carson. I didn't know it was real until I got to the house and walked in the studio and saw that studio. And I was like, damn, like this is for real. You know what I mean? Like, so that was when I knew, like, yo, this is an opportunity. I don't know where it's going, but this is a big opportunity. And so I played music for Musa for like an hour. He really liked it, told me some people he wanted me to get with. We took a couple meetings or whatever. And then the plan was to, like I said, make another project. The plan was to build me up, make another project, and take that project to Top. That was the plan. Musa was listening, There You Have It, and the new records, like over and over for like a week. And without my consent, he just sent it to Top. And I really didn't want him to do that because Top is the type of person, first impressions, if he doesn't like it, then he might not have a shot. But Top liked it, and he wanted to set a meeting. And then we was in there with Top maybe like 3 days later at the same house playing music.
So when you walk in that first time and meet Top, I mean, at this point, he's Top Dawg.
Exactly.
He's got like, what was going on in your head? Like, how did that unfold?
To be honest, I was nervous as hell. So it was me, my brother, and my boy LT. LT ended up coming on our team. I've known LT my whole life, but he ended up coming on our team early last year, like January 2017. And so it was me, my brother, and LT, and we walk in the house, and they say Top's in the studio, but y'all can just wait out here. We're probably waiting for like an hour and a half, and then SZA walks out, and met SZA. And that made me even more nervous. But that whole hour and a half, all I kept thinking about is just like, this is just such a big moment. Like, if this doesn't go well, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? Like, because it's one thing to be in a grind, but it's another thing to be that close and then something not go through. Like, that could be a blow, like, to somebody's confidence. You know what I mean? And I was kind of a pessimist at times, so I'm just like, man, like, I really, really hope this goes well. So when we meet with Top and we start playing records, we're just playing stuff, and Top, he's not even nodding his head. He's literally just on his phone the entire time for like an hour. He might look up and show Musa something on Instagram and laugh, and then he looks right back down at his phone. And he's not nodding his head, not once. And then I played a record, Fuck With Me, that I performed at the show that is on the There You Have It. And that was the first time he started nodding his head. So I was like, okay, cool. But is this the only record he likes? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, he hasn't nodded his head once. And then after that song went off, he was like, that's hard. I like that song. So at this point, I think that the meeting's going horrible. Because I'm like, okay, this is the only record he likes. I'm playing all this soulful stuff, and then I play this turned up record, and this is the one he picks or whatever. And then Top walks out, and Musa tells me like, nah, shit, like, don't worry about it. Like, he has to like the music because he will cut a meeting short if he doesn't like it. Like, he was like, I've seen him get up and just be like, well, it's nice to meet you, and just walk out. Like, he's not gonna waste his time. So he came back in, gave me his phone number, told me to text him the project or whatever, and told me to live with it. And we left the meeting. And Lisa was like, it takes a while to, sign artists. He has to live with them, watch them, see what they do. So, we might be working for another 6 to 12 months, but trust me, like, you're on his radar, he likes you. And maybe 2 days later, Lisa called me at like 6 in the morning and was like, bro, I just got off the phone with my pops. My pops said he'd been listening to you all night, he's heavily impressed. Like, if everything else checks out, I think he's gonna end up signing it. So it happened way quicker than we thought it was gonna happen.
That's crazy, man. On number one, you say shout out to new niggas spitting like old niggas.
Yeah.
What is it about that?
That's crazy because the free album, that's dope that you really listen to that.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you.
I appreciate it.
What is it about that back in the day flow that appeals to you, and what is it about the kind of today's flow that doesn't?
I just feel like people from back in the day, like they rapped about something and they cared. That it mattered more about, like, in today's flow, it's more about cadence, which, don't get me wrong, I love, some of the people today that rap, but they just used to rap about stuff, or even if they weren't rapping about nothing, it sounded like they was rapping about something, you know what I mean? And they cared about what they put on the paper. Like, nowadays, a lot of dudes just really don't even care, which I'm not the big person that get caught up in that mumble rap versus real rap. I don't really care, but I think that both sides can learn a little bit from each other. Like, I think mumble rappers, quote unquote, their cadence and pockets are crazy. They're just not really saying much. And then you got dudes that are maybe overly hip hop that are saying a lot, but it maybe doesn't sound appealing because they don't have that pocket presence. So I feel like both can learn, but I'm just a big advocate of rapping about something. You know what I mean? So,
3 a.m. in Delamo, you talk about Rose smoking a blunt, I'm smoking these instrumentals.
yeah.
And on better days, you talk about, like, the temptations that your cousin is facing.
Yeah.
You seem to have been able to kind of stay away from those things. What is it that kept you away from those vices and allowed you to continue to stay focused on your career and not distracted?
Honestly, sports. Growing up my whole life playing basketball, I'm the type of person that when I get involved in something, I do it at 150%. And I tell people that all the time, if you want to be great at something, you have to obsess over it, like, to the point where when you go to sleep, you're dreaming about it. When you wake up, you're thinking about it. There's times where I will be having arguments with my ex, and while she's like arguing, yelling at me, I'm thinking about, like, basketball. Like, damn, I gotta go to the gym. I gotta work out. Like, that's how obsessed I was with sports, and that's the same way that I am with music now. So sports just kept me out of the way. So when I said it on 3 a.m. in Delamo, it was really just kind of like a metaphor for how my whole life has been. It's like Ro, my brother Ro, well, not my brother, but he's just like Ro. Yeah, exactly. But he used to smoke all the time, and I don't smoke much. I smoke every now and then. But he used to smoke all the time, and just me always being focused on what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? And he can be in the car just hotboxing, and I'm just writing records till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning. And he was a big fan of just being with me while I'm listening to beats and stuff like that. So that used to be something that we used to do a lot.
There's a lot of pain in your music too.
Yeah.
You talked about wanting to be real, and I know at the show you talked about how this is therapy for you. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. I feel like in general, like especially black men, we're taught to not really talk about pain like that. Like my dad used to always tell me, I'd be like, that's not fair. He'd be like, life's not fair. Get over it. Like you're gonna face way bigger problems than this. That's just the way life goes for like a black man in America. And so because of that, I don't think that that's the right way that you should handle things that you go through. I think you should talk about it, but I'm not good at talking about things that I go through. I'm not. Like I'm always the person that just internalize everything, and then I end up having these explosions where I just black out and say some shit that I should have never said, or you know what I mean. So when I started doing music, it was really a way for me to like really get things off my chest, like. And I won't even be trying to do it. It's not like something that happened and I'll go to the studio and be like, I'm gonna write about this. I'll literally just be writing a song, and for some reason that is what my brain is spitting out. It's spitting out bars about what I just went through. So when I wrote Better Days, like I had just got back from Atlanta and all of that stuff had happened with my cousin, and I'm at work. I actually wrote it at work on my lunch break, and I'm just listening to the beat, and like I said, the YouTube beat was called Better Days, so I wrote a line about that rhymed with Better Days because I knew I wanted that to be the hook. And then the very next line that came to my head was just, my older cousin been dabbling in cocaine sniffing. I love him to death, but feeling like, and it just started spilling out. And I wrote 2 verses, and then that was the end of the song at first, it was just 2 verses. And then a week and a half later, my cousin was stabbed 17 times and died, and then they brought him back. Like he was like literally flatlined, and they brought him back, thank God. And that's why the first 2 verses sound like very, very disappointing, but like from love, but like me spilling that out. And then that's why the 3rd verse sounds almost like regretful in a way. Like, I can't believe that that's the last thing those were the last thoughts that I almost had of my cousin. Like, he almost died, and my last thoughts were negativity about some shit that he was going through. And because I couldn't talk to him about it, and I wasn't strong enough to have that conversation with him, like, look at where he is now, you know what I mean? And so I felt like I was part of the blame. I felt like people around us was part of the blame, because it's like, you know, you look at what just happened with Mac Miller, rest in peace. It's like people need to say something, but it's not the easiest thing that we're taught growing up. We're taught that life isn't fair. Right? Just get over it. You know what I mean? And so, you know, it's good for the music, and it's very, very therapeutic for me. But I need to start also being able to speak about those things too. You know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah. So your brother has gone to college, got his master's, coaching at USC. You have stayed focused, stayed away from like temptation. What was your home life like? What, you know, your parents' situation like? Because it sounds like you were pretty well grounded growing up.
Yeah. It's me, my brother, and my older sister. She has her master's too. They really set the bar. But my parents are like, they're like the perfect mix. So my dad is like my homie almost. He's still my parent, but he only gets mad about big shit. So like when we were little, he would only, like, we used to get whoopings all the time, but we would only get whooped by my dad if it was like we got expelled or suspended or got arrested or some shit like that. That was the only time that he would do it. Other than that, like little stuff, he didn't care. But then my mom would never whoop us for big shit. She would just talk to us and have serious life talks with us. But she would whoop us for every little thing in the world. Like, it was like the TV was left on, we'd get a whooping. Like, it was ridiculous. But I feel like it was a perfect mix of like the two, as far as like being accountable. Like what was always preached in my household is like, you know, being accountable for your actions, treat people the way that you want to be treated, family over everything, regardless. Like, you know, you can't choose family, but that's all you have in the world. You know what I mean? And so my upbringing was it wasn't strict, but it was very guided in a way of, you know, what you should and shouldn't be doing. And my sister did a lot of parenting too, because she's 5 years older than us, and I thought my sister I still think my sister is one of the coolest people on the planet, and so I wanted to be like her, you know what I mean, while I was growing up and whatnot. So she was just constantly setting the bar. I think if she didn't set the bar with everything she was doing, first person to go to college, first person to graduate, first person to get her master's, entrepreneur, like, if she didn't do those things, me and my brother wouldn't have followed in the same footsteps. So because she was constantly leveling up, we almost felt like we had to level up with her, because we're all 3 of us are just competitive. So
Did you really want to go to law school?
I did want to go to law school,
yeah.
And then figured out that it was 3 more years and how difficult it was, and one of those things I just psyched myself out. I wanted to be a sports agent, so I have a double bachelor's in business management and sports management, and I wanted to go to law schools so I could be a sports agent. And then started doing research on how difficult it was, and was just like, yo, I'm over that. Like, I'm not doing it. So I kind of punked out from law school, but it was something I wanted to do.
And where'd you graduate from?
Northwestern State in Iowa, Orange City, Iowa. So there's a bunch of Northwesterns, but mine just happened to be in Orange City, Iowa.
What was the 8 to 5 that you were working that you hated?
Oh man, that was when I was working at the winery. I was working at this winery called Wally's in Beverly Hills, and it would either be 8 to 5 or it would be like 11 to 7:30 or something like that when we close. But it's in a bougie area, so we get like all the rich, like white entitled people there that talk to you however they want to talk to you, talk down on you. It was awful. Like that was probably, and it was like right after college. So I have 2 degrees and graduated, and I was a quote unquote assistant manager, but I was pretty much just a glorified cashier. I was a cashier with more access to stuff that other cashiers didn't have access to. And that was like a really low point in my life where I was just like, what am I doing? Like if this is what the rest of my life is going to be like I didn't do my parents any justice at all. And so
That's interesting. You had a steady job. You had a sister who had set the bar and was on her grind. But still, that's a lot of pressure to like just leave and pursue your dream, especially one that's such a long shot like the music business. So, what gave you the courage to make that move?
Well, I didn't quit till I got signed. I was working, but I quit the winery though. I couldn't work there anymore, and I started working at a place called Tech Systems, where I was a recruiter for. It was pretty much a tech recruiting company. We recruited people in IT for other companies, and I liked that job, but it was way more hours. I was probably there from 7:45 to 6:30 every single day, and it was just a grind, like trying to do that in music. A lot of people ask me, a lot of up-and-coming artists ask me, what advice would I give them? And I tell them, there's a misconception that you have to quit and put everything in the music. But it's like, you're not going to be creating 24 hours and you need some money. My biggest advice to people is that music is a very pay-to-play game. If you want to level up, you have to pay money. And you don't want to just wait around for somebody else to pay for stuff. So I just went and got the money myself. I was making really, really good money at Tech. And I was spending every dime that I had on music. And then my brother as well, he was making good money. He was pouring money into the music. My cousin Alicia, she was pouring money into the music. And if it wasn't for the money, to be honest with you, we wouldn't have leveled up in the way that we did, you know what I mean, on a local level.
So what's changed for you now that you signed a TDE?
Well, I don't work anymore, so that's dope. Honestly, because I signed in September, all of the changes have really been as of recent because I wasn't announced. So what did change is the way I made music. Like I have more access to better studios, better producers, but my life didn't change. I was like the same person, and I just had a lot more free time to kind of hang out with family, do what I wanted to do, and work on music. But now that I'm announced, almost everything has changed, and I'm still getting used to it. Like I still do things that I probably shouldn't be doing now, but I'm just not used to being in the position that I'm in now. It's hard because a lot of people reach out that I really love and care about and ask me for favors like, yo, can you do this record, or can you open up, or can you come out on my set at this show, or whatever the case may be, and I suck at saying no. So that part has changed a lot for me. And then you see a lot of people that didn't really support you, and now all of a sudden they're supporting you. But I don't look at that as a negative thing, because I look at any support as good support for me, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just been a roller coaster, and it's weird to be around people that I have looked up to my whole life, and now I'm just in the same room as them, and it's normal, you know what I mean? Like being on tour with J-Rock, like, is my favorite member of TDE. Like, he was the guy for me, you know what I mean? And so, to be on tour for him it's still weird. Like when we're at rehearsal together and J-Rock is watching me rehearse and I'm watching him rehearse. Like, it's like being a kid in LA and now you practicing with Kobe. Like that's how I look at it, you know what I mean? And it's just weird.
Yeah, what kind of game have you gotten from those guys? Because they've been in it for a long time, a lot longer than most people know. Especially Rock.
Yeah.
So what kind of game have they given you? Kendrick Q.
Yeah. Rock. One thing he told me that really stuck with me is just he says beat the case, meaning like whatever the situation is, like you just got to beat the case. You just got to get through that. If it's a show and we trying to set up a show and the production is messed up or the sound is messed up or whatever the case, it's just like there's no point in dwelling on it. Like you just beat the case and move on. You know what I mean? And then Kendrick, he hasn't specifically given me like direct advice, but I've been in the studio with him and just picked up things that he does as far as like recording methods or how he comes up with different things, like his cadences. He doesn't put words on it first. He like mumbles and tries to just find like what sounds dope in his head first, and then put words on top of that, pattern of rapping or whatever the case may be. And Q, the way he does his ad-libs and his energy, I just kind of like look at them and take game a little bit away from them, and I'll send songs to Dawg all the time, just be like, what do you think about this, what do you think about this? Top says I need a big record, do you feel like this is a big record? And he just kind of gives me advice like, yo, your pocket presence here is dope, you should do 6 more songs in this area, you know what I mean, and grow with it, or I like this song, but you should try writing a song maybe about nothing. Just see if you can just rap and make it a dope song, and it don't have to have a story or whatever. So they kind of give me advice like that, trying to just push my pen a little bit.
Yeah, when I first heard you, like, you got the pain in your voice, the rock does, and the raspiness of Q.
Yeah.
But and everything you say sounds like a place of authenticity and not trying to glorify, but really like share and help people learn based on things that you know gone through. So I can see why you would appeal to top. You know, on the soul you say came from the bottom. Of course, I'm apprehensive of top. Grew up with Crips. Of course, I'm apprehensive of rock.
Yeah, feel I'm the greatest, so of course I'm apprehensive of
exactly.
Yeah.
So TDE is a tight knit family, and they've been together for many years. How have you kind of like worked your way in and become a member of the family?
Yeah, it's still a growing process. I think, like I always tell everybody, it's a good and bad thing to everything. It was dope that I got signed so quick, but I won't say the negative thing. But one of the growing points in that is that I got signed and they really didn't know me, and so I feel like I'm still getting to know everybody in the label. So it's like you're walking into this family, and there's apprehensions because it's almost like an adopted child coming into a big family, and they want you, you know what I mean? But you really don't know everybody, you know what I mean? And you're trying to figure out their personalities. They're trying to figure out your personality. Top has a lot of personality and business savvy to him, and the way he thinks. And I'm trying to read how he thinks about stuff, and not offend people by saying this, but still speak my mind. Like, all of it is a growing process, but it's been easy because they're so human, they're so regular. Like, these are millionaires that most of them don't even wear jewelry. Like, you know what I mean? Like Top is worth, I don't know who knows how much. He wears a red hat, a hoodie, and some 501 jeans everywhere. So they're so normal that it makes it a lot easier. But it is still a growing process, you know what I mean? But it's been exciting just learning new people. Dave Free, Red One, Hollywood, like all these dudes that are around, just building that relationship with them. You know what I mean? It's been dope.
That's dope. So you say you do this for the scholars and the Crips. Can you expand on that? Because that was. And music is universal, but I think it's because it comes from such a real place. But talk about that.
Yeah, all of my homies were athletes or in a gang, and I have a couple homies that took school very seriously. So I feel like I had a very balanced life, and so when I make music, it comes from a place of I'm a scholar that went to school, got 2 degrees, but there was also a point in my life where I was heavily considering joining the gang. And I feel like my music kind of encompasses all of that. It touches on that lifestyle and what they're going through and that struggle. But it also touches on the lifestyle of just what a normal person that went to school, got a degree, and now they're trying to find a job in this fucked up economy and trying to figure out exactly how they can, make a living. And they spent 50 bands on education, and they're struggling with that, or in a relationship struggling with that, or having doubts or depression and struggling with that. So just kind of combining those 2 worlds and showing that they're really not that far alike. Not that far from each other. You know what I mean? Apart. Like, people in the streets and people that are doing regular things with their lives, they go through the same shit. And I think that a lot of people think that it's just 2 completely polar opposite sides of the world, and it's really not. You know what I mean?
So last question: when you see yourself in 5 years from now, what do you see?
I want to be a household name in music. I want to be a staple. I want to be one of the top guys. I feel like it's hard to say the top guy because everything is so short-lived nowadays, and everything is up in the air. One day Kendrick's the greatest because he dropped this album. Next day Drake drops, he's the greatest. So I don't get caught up on who's the best. Like that. That's very, frivolous. But I want to be a household name, and I want to be somebody that people are then looking at like, wow, this guy could end up being one of the greatest rappers that we've ever seen, as far as from wordsmith, lyricist, song making ability. I care more about respect than you know, respect for the craft and respect for something like hip hop, something that I love my whole life, then am I selling more records than this guy or whatever the case may be? You know what I mean? So that's the conversation I want people to put me in within the next 5 years.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.